Chapter 1: The Stink That Started It All. Stinky Pete was a man of many talents, most of them unintentional. He had an odd ability to make his presence known, whether through his pungent odor or his strange knack for getting himself into ridiculous situations. His life had been one of simplicity, spent lounging around his modest home in the middle of nowhere, making his presence felt by anyone unlucky enough to cross his path. But everything changed one fateful day when an old, crinkled map fell from a mysterious package that appeared on his doorstep. The map was covered in cryptic symbols and pointed toward 7 strange gemstones, gems with the power to alter the very essence of their wielder. Pete, having a nose for adventure and a peculiar thirst for something more, knew he was about to embark on a quest that would define him. Pete looked at the map, grinning. Stinky Pete. All right, let's see what's in this for me, huh? With a determined sigh, Pete packed a bag full of snacks and set off on the journey to find all 7 element gems. Each gem would not only change him, but give him incredible powers, turning him into something much greater than the man who smelled like he hadn't taken a bath in years. Chapter 2: The Fire Gem, Portland, Oregon. Pete's first stop was Portland, Oregon, home of the elusive fire gem. The gem was said to lie in the heart of a dormant volcano, far beyond the reach of most adventurers. Pete, however, had never been one to back down from a challenge. As Pete approached the volcano, the air grew thick with heat. His body started to sweat heavily, but he pressed on. He reached the summit and found the gem, glowing bright red, nestled deep in the rock. The moment Pete touched it, a fiery energy surged through his body, causing his skin to glow an intense crimson. His clothes ignited in flames, and he felt an incredible power course through him. Pete, whoa, I'm on fire! Literally! I'm Fire Pete now! Now with the fire gem, Pete could control fire. His hands sparked with flames at will, and he could conjure firestorms with just a snap of his fingers. He felt unstoppable. But before he could even finish celebrating, a small forest fire started nearby, and Pete chuckled. He wasn't just any fire starter now. He was the fire starter. This is going to be a hot journey, huh? Chapter 3: The Water Gem, Hoshinori. Next, Pete traveled to Hoshinori, a small island in the Pacific, rumored to hold the water gem. The ocean was vast, and finding this particular gem meant traversing through dangerous, stormy waters. But Fire Pete, now with his fiery powers, was fearless. After battling vicious waves and even creating a massive tsunami to propel himself forward, Pete reached a hidden cave beneath the island's cliffs. There, lying under a shimmering pool of water, was the water gem, glowing with an eerie blue light. As soon as Pete picked it up, his body changed. His once fiery form turned a deep shade of blue, and he felt the cool embrace of water surge through him. His powers transformed him into Water Pete, capable of controlling and manipulating water in any form. He could create floods, whirlpools, and even breathe underwater. Look out, ocean! I'm about to get really wet. In this moment, Pete realized that the quest for the element gems wasn't just about power. It was about learning how to master the elements themselves. Chapter 4: The Grass Gem, Zimbabwe. The next gem lay deep within the jungles of Zimbabwe. It was said that the grass gem was hidden in the heart of the jungle, where few dared to venture. After a long trek through the dense foliage, battling wild animals, and even narrowly escaping a run-in with some territorial locals, Pete found the gem, its green glow lighting up the darkness. When Pete grasped it, a surge of life energy flooded his body. His skin turned a vibrant shade of green, and he felt a deep connection with nature. As Grass Pete, he gained the ability to control plants, cause vines to grow at will, and even communicate with the plant life around him. Grass Pete. Looks like it's time to grow some trouble for anyone who messes with me. With his newfound powers, Pete easily outwitted jungle predators and made his way through the thick forest with ease, leaving behind a trail of blooming flowers and towering trees in his wake. Chapter 5: The Ice Gem, O Block, Chicago. Pete's journey next led him to O Block, Chicago, a notorious neighborhood with a reputation for danger. The ice gem was said to be in the depths of a frozen warehouse, hidden beneath layers of ice and guarded by ruthless thugs. Pete wasn't scared. As Ice Pete, after claiming the ice gem, he could now summon freezing winds and control ice and snow. His body turned a frosty light blue, and his breath fogged up the air as he walked. With a simple touch, he froze everything in his path, creating paths across lakes, freezing enemies in place, and turning the world into his personal ice rink. Ice Pete, y'all are about to feel the chill. He froze the thugs guarding the gem into statues, sending them to an eternal frost as he took the gem and left the building, ice crystals forming behind him. Chapter 6, The Wind Gem, Compton, California. Next, Pete ventured to Compton, California, in search of the Wind Gem. This gem was located atop a high, windswept mountain and was said to give the power to manipulate the very air around him. After climbing the treacherous mountain, Pete found the Wind Gem nestled on a cliff, glowing bright orange. The moment Pete touched it, the winds around him began to swirl and his body turned an intense orange. As Wind Pete, he gained the ability to control the wind, creating gusts strong enough to lift entire houses or create violent tornadoes. You think you're fast? I'm about to blow you away. With the power of the wind at his command, Pete sped across the land, effortlessly flying through the air and summoning cyclones that sent enemies fleeing in all directions. Chapter 7, The Light Gem, Heaven. The Light Gem was said to be located in heaven, and Pete wasn't sure how exactly he was going to get there. But his power, now greater than ever, allowed him to break through realms of existence that no mortal had ever touched. Once Pete arrived, the Light Gem was suspended in midair, glowing a brilliant yellow. Upon claiming the gem, Pete was bathed in a golden light. His skin turned yellow, and his powers shifted. As Light Pete, he gained the ability to manipulate light itself, creating blinding beams of energy, bending light to become invisible, and even healing others with the purest form of light. Light Pete, let there be light, and let it be bright. With his new abilities, Pete illuminated the world around him, blinding enemies, and even using his powers to banish darkness. Chapter 8, The Dark Gem, Shreveport, Louisiana. Pete's final stop was Shreveport, Louisiana, where the Dark Gem was hidden in the deepest part of the bayou. This gem was said to be cursed, granting its user the ability to control shadows and the darkness itself. Pete ventured deep into the swamp, surrounded by murky waters and uninviting creatures. When he finally found the Dark Gem, a surge of darkness flooded his body, turning him purple. Now, as Dark Pete, he could manipulate shadows, create illusions, and wield dark energy. Dark Pete, the darkness is mine now. With the power of the Dark Gem, Pete could hide in the shadows, manipulate fears, and create terrifying dark beasts to do his bidding. It was the final piece in his transformation into the ultimate force of power. Chapter 9, The Ultimate Stink. With all 7 element gems in his possession, Stinky Pete had been transformed into something truly incredible. From Fire Pete to Dark Pete, Pete was now an unstoppable force of nature, wielding the power of all the elements. But more than that, Pete had learned one thing. Sometimes, it's not about being clean. It's about embracing who you are and using your unique abilities to make a difference in the world. And with all his newfound powers, Pete was ready to face whatever challenges came next. Yeah, I stink, but now I'm unstoppable. Let's get this party started.